Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of SketchyGOichie. I'm your humble host, Roger Andrews, and I'd love to thank you for being a subscriber to my channel. And for those who are new, feel free to subscribe and make sure you click on the little bell icon. When you do, you will be notified when new videos are being uploaded and you will be completely in the know. I also like to thank you guys who are subscribers to me on, well, not subscribers, but who have liked my Facebook page, the SketchyGOichie Facebook page, and have also followed me on Instagram. It grows every week. I'm amazed and I appreciate it. Also, I'd love for you guys to leave comments and like whatever you like. Don't like whatever you like, but feel free to engage, leave suggestions, leave requests for images you'd like for me to render. I'm perfectly happy to make videos out of anything you guys throw up. So throw up on there. Not throw up. Anyways, stay tuned, enjoy this video, and I will see you around.
All right, let us begin. Or should I say begin again? Let's go back on into that Erin Heartbreak sketch that I started. Just as a little recap. Oops, I was actually getting the jump on this one. This is Erin and her dog. That's what we were working on today. Erin Heartbreak on Instagram and on YouTube. That is her channel. It is kind of I want to say fashion related, but it's product related. At least the videos that I've seen. It's kind of a guide for someone looking to purchase, designer handbags. And the videos that I watched, at least the ones that were the most interesting to me of hers, were the her sort of doing reviews of the fakes. Or should I say the replicas? I don't know if that's a better term of, like a Louis Vuitton bag or a Gucci bag. And I guess apparently you can order them on Amazon, which I'm sure the the folks in Italy and Paris or wherever they're making these bags are really thrilled that there are knockoffs. I guess is probably the best way to describe it. Not fakes, knockoffs. And they're probably really thrilled, but the fact is that not everyone can afford, $3,000 to $10,000 handbags, and I imagine it's a great way if you're into that sort of thing, to be able to buy them. And she does some really cool reviews and really in depth. But anyway, so I met her. She's got well over 10,000 followers, and my buddy Jeff Watton at Spectrum Marketing. He put the two of us together. I guess they're friends or they know each other. And we had lunch, and she kind of broke down YouTube for me and how it works and how best to kind of present yourself on YouTube and how best to express what you're trying to do. And she does it so well. So just as a thank you of her taking her valuable time, I thought I'd do a little sketch of her and her dog, her lovable dog. And she sent over a couple of pics. This is her. This is the doggy. And so in the previous video, I just gathered some reference. I started just doing some loose sketches. I want to do it super cartoony. And so that is the content of the previous video. So that is our recap. Now I want to do one of the two of them together, maybe play around with some different cartoony styles and see what happens. All right, that's the point of it, right? It is SketchyGOichie. I did mention this in a previous video. At some point, I got to do some sketching, not just doing all the color rendering, and that's part of it. Of course, that is still sketching, but I think it's probably best I get in and actually do what the namesake says. Do some sketching. So, anyways, I did this one first. This was just me monkeying around with sort of a cartoony style. I think I was going for, which is kind of this modern style of modern proportions on cartoons. Your Bob's Burgers and I guess Rick and Morty and a zillion other cartoons. This is kind of a proportion that's kind of been established. So I'm gonna get on the page and I'm gonna do a bunch of different ones. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what this guy here is, it's just a charger, just a little stand. It's connected to a USB, and I just kind of plug this in to make sure when I reach for the Apple Pencil, it is fully charged and ready to go. Same thing with the iPad itself. I like to make sure that guy is fully charged when I get cracking. And of course, I'd like to dive in and not have to worry about me. Oh, you're at 10% power. Now you gotta charge, or better yet, at less than 20%, and you really gotta charge. Okay, so all right, there's sketch number 1. Again, I'm working in Procreate using the iPad Pro, and so this layer is layer 4. I'm gonna rename it. We'll call it New Sketches. Okay, simple as that. Just hit return. I don't really necessarily need the reference images at this point. I'm not looking to do a caricature. It's really just kind of like what I'm looking to do is a cartoon representation of her and the dog. So if you're wondering why the likenesses aren't perfect, or it's not like an old school magazine style caricature, it's just me just doing a representation. So I just want to create like a cool cartoon character of her. So let me start. So I have new sketches. I can keep it if I want to do new art. I can certainly add a new layer. Rename it. More new sketches. Hit return. All right. So let's do. All right. Let me select my brush. This is obviously crucial to a lot of folks. I'm using the technical pen. All right. It has been altered using these settings down here. I get into it in one of my previous videos, so if you want to kind of deep dive, you'll find the one where I kind of really break down the brush. But it's from the original set. This is not a brush that I bought. You can buy brushes, and then the thing about buying brushes is one thing you have to bear in mind is you probably will have to custom adjust the settings to make them work for you and your particular, the way you render. So even if you buy one, it's not going to be the magic bullet to creating the perfect ink line. I use the technical pen. Oftentimes I'll use either the studio pen or the ink bleed for sketches, for the loose sort of underdrawing stage like this. But for some reason, I don't know, I started this one in the technical pen. I'll render it loosely, and then I'll go back in and refine it later, maybe in another video. Okay, starting. So I'm gonna just do an enormous head for this one, and enormous eyes. All right, little features, little mouth, and little nose. Okay, ears are generally here on a cartoon. If you follow the eye line, I like to do my ears just below, or evenly divided between the lower part of the eyes when I'm doing little cartoon characters. It's just, I don't know, just a fun way to do it. Another thing that is kind of cool, what's great about me doing this on another layer, I can lower the opacity. You notice that? So it's a fully black, it's a full black color selection, but I just lowered the opacity, and that'll kind of keep everything loose and not too dense and too black. Kind of like what this is. So continuing on, I'm gonna square off the eyes just a bit, and then I'm gonna, generally when I'm rendering the eyes, I like to do the lashes first for female characters. I think it obviously the eyelash, the thick eyelash, creates the femininity that is necessary to make these female characters work. And the squaring off of the eyes, it's just a technique thing. I'm trying to make it, I guess this particular style of illustration is going to be kind of like, for anyone who has kids, like the AOL dolls. So eyes, or the little eyeballs themselves, always have a little highlight or two. And then they always have the little center, I think that's the iris. It's always filled in black. Regardless of whatever you render, in terms of eye color, that little center circle is almost always black. So just bear that in mind. I don't care what color you work on, and I mean, you can color render, you can render this in any color line you like, but I think in the end, the eyelashes, depending on the person's hair color or skin color, actually, I don't even know that it really depends on that, but the eyelashes are always the deepest, darkest black, and the center circle of the eye is always the deepest color black. And then, you know, you can do your little eyebrows, which looks kind of sharp, your little button nose, and a cool little mouth. And you notice, like, again, I've got my little construction lines in there. They're just guides, guys. You know, a lot of people are really hung up on placement of, you know, of the different features on the face. You know, obviously that's, you know, to be able to achieve a cartoony look, you know, you have to sort of, you know, skew the proportions. You have to skew the proportions of the face. You know, we're not doing portraits in this case. If you want to see portraits, I got videos of portraits. You know, we can get into that. But for cartoony face, definitely want to distort those. You know, and all of that is just positioning on the face. So that's her, the face, hair-wise. We'll give her a little swoop here coming off that part of the head. Same thing on this side. Just a couple of strokes, just to kind of indicate the direction of the hair. You know, I think she's got some waviness to it, so we'll kind of indicate that. You know what? It just occurred to me, if only I had some reference, see how her hair goes. Yeah, there is sort of this little flip that goes over one side. At least in this particular hairstyle, and there's some waviness in it, so I can kind of indicate that in my sketch. All right. Hopefully this is coming out. You know, the gray is coming out well enough for you guys to see it. She kind of looks a little surprised there, but it's just because her eyes are so big and the eyeballs are so so wide open, and the eyebrow, actually, it being up like that gives her kind of a surprised look. If only there was a way I could change her expression simply and quickly. So here's a nice little trick. Trick number one is eyebrow placement. Eyebrow placement is huge. Like right now, just her without the eyebrow, she looks like almost shocked or surprised, but less so than when the eyebrows were up there and in position. So, right? Oh, shocked, surprised, right? So, 2-finger tap to undo. But what if I put the eyebrows down here and give a little, she looks a little annoyed now all of a sudden. Strange how that happened, right? Or maybe the eyebrows in a more of a neutral position. She looks a little more like shocked or amazed, or eyebrows up. Now she looks kind of worried, right? Really quick, little simple ways of getting expression down. Hugely important if you're certainly if you're a cartoon artist or you're a comic book artist and you're doing characters that have multiple expressions. You're going to want to kind of learn the tricks of how to make characters look a little more animated, for lack of a better way to describe it. And so eyebrow position, hugely important. I'm going to draw her, I'm going to do one up and one a little more, one neutral and one a little more up. And this one, you know what I mean? Here's another cool little trick too. I'm going to duplicate that layer just so I can really play around with it and not lose the original integrity. And I'm going to go over to here and select her eyelashes, both sides. So just the upper part of the eye, right? And I am going to move it down to there. Okay. I'm just going to erase out just a little bit on the top here. Just a little bit. That's just a little bit of the remnants of the previous eye. All right, and then I'm gonna render in just a line that represents the top of the eyelid. Bring it down to there. All of a sudden now she looks a little sleepier. All right, and I can really emphasize that with what I do with the eyebrow. Just gonna push that eyebrow really close to the eye. You know, the trick there is the exact philosophy behind it is the more open the eye. If you really think about it, how your face works, or how your particularly your eye and your eyebrow works, the more you open your eyes, the higher up the eyebrows go. It's just the natural, you know, the way the muscles kind of move your eyebrows up the head as your eyes get wider, and then as your eyes close, the eyebrows get closer to the eye here. You know, so she's obviously a little droopier. So that's what happens with these eyebrows. So just bear that in mind when you guys are sketching. Okay? So I don't really need that one. So we'll bring that back. We have this one here. There's some tricks to the mouth to, you know, let me zoom in a little more. You know, if you put a little dark underneath where that opening is in the mouth, you now create the area that would be considered teeth. And that changes the expression of the mouth really significantly by being able to see the teeth. Now you actually know that person is probably talking. And then the body, you know, I'm going to do her really tiny, little teeny tiny body. She's very fit, so I don't want to draw her too wide. So I'll just do a little cute little hand on hip pose. Like she's defiant almost. Okay. I'm doing her wearing like a little, I don't know what kind of top. Sorry, Erin, if you watch this, you would know best the fashion. And then the little legs. You know, obviously, you know, these feet would probably not support the size of that head in the real world, the cartoony size of the head. But, you know, actually I can make it a little touch thinner. One thing I don't want her to look is kind of grandma-ly. I'm going to make that skirt shorter. As a matter of fact, let me get myself a bigger eraser. I only use the technical pen for the eraser if I want to do really intricate erasers, if I want to cut out areas from that I've already rendered in the black. But I love the studio pen for me for the eraser. I use that as my eraser too. A lot of people use a bigger, chunkier eraser to erase larger sections. But if I use the studio pen and I put it to maximum, it does what I need it to do. It erases with an artist flair. It doesn't just like it's not scorched earth when I'm erasing. I don't want a big chunky eraser. I like the thick and thin of the eraser too. All right, so let's go. We'll go back. Put little teenier hands, a teenier little fist, and we'll do longer legs. So that way it looks a little more, she looks a little fitter. And then the rest of her hair, it's like her hair is like enormous. Okay, so that is another version of the character. And I'll just go over here to our opacity. That's that little N there. It means normal. And there's your opacity slider. And you can slide that sucker up. That's all the way. You know, for this I can probably go like midway. So that's another character. Another version of her character. I'll put that over here for now. And then of course I'll do the dog on its own layer. I'll do them up here. Scoot over here. And I'm just doing front views for now. Actually, let me lower the opacity on this one too. Okay. This is just straight on views. I think it's just as a starting point. I like to, it's funny, ironically enough, I know the more difficult point of view is usually the 3/4 view, but I like to render in the front view just for starters, just to get the basic, the basic shapes down. And that's, if you notice too, look at literally basic shapes. Not a perfect, certainly not a perfect rectangle or square, not perfect triangles, and not perfect elongated rectangle. They're a little bit rounded because I know it's going to be something organic. I'll instead of doing perfect shapes, which you could, and then sort of alter it, because I kind of know what I'm going for. I'm able to kind of start to round off the shapes. This little trapezoid shape could be a perfect trapezoid, or I could just kind of round it off because I know I kind of have a sense of where I'm going with it. If that makes any sense, guys. Hopefully it does. And if it doesn't, leave a comment and I'll clarify in my response. All right, so the dog, little jowls, put those in right away. Put his little nose in, kind of indicate some shadow there. Do I want to draw his tongue out? Yeah, draw his little tongue out. This little shadow shape here will represent a collar. Just some lines to just kind of represent the top of the muzzle. That little space, I don't even know what to call that gap there, right there beneath their nose. That little crease. And then he's going to be in her style, so I'm going to give him big eyes too. Just kind of square him off just a little bit. I'll even give him some eyebrows because he is cartoony, so it's okay. He's got that little, I believe he's got a little streak. No, not well. Yes, he kind of does. From the nostrils. From the muzzle all the way to his back, the back of his head. So I'll indicate that here. Let me get rid of those and just go. Oops. Just like this. From there we'll kind of know. And then I'll throw a couple little dots there. And then I'm going to give him some big eyes. Oops. Three finger brings it back, by the way. 2-finger takes away in terms of an undo. 3 fingers like a redo. So if you're working in Procreate and you're wondering what just happened, that's me 3-finger bringing it back. What I had taken away, I'm bringing it back. All right. So this is kind of bug eyes. He looks a little like quizzical, I think, a little bit, maybe there's a little shock in there too, because the eyes are so big and so open, and the eyebrows are up, as I indicated before. So here's his little body. That's his sort of front paws, his back, hind legs. It's really just a couple of lines. It's literally like the representation of hind legs, if you notice. It's just like this little curve here and another little curve there. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better way to sort of explain it, how it's done. It's just literally just watching cartoons and just absorbing how things have been rendered in the past. Watching old Looney Tunes and, Flintstones and whatever else I grew up with cartoon-wise. And that's really all that is. It's seeing what other cartoonists have done over the centuries to create the effects that replicate, real life, how they render hands and feet, and in this case paws and tails and ears. It's just there's a visual language that's been established in cartooning that just works. It's just been established by cartoonists over time. All right, so there's the dog. He's probably gonna make his eyes a bit bigger, but he's gonna go in her world. I'm gonna just skew him a bit, reduce him in size, and then bring up that opacity a bit too, because he's getting lost next to her now. Scale-wise, I think he's a pretty big dog in the real world. So maybe I'll make him like really big. Put him over here. Actually, I've got that right about there. Maybe a little smaller up there. So that's the two of them together. I'm going to join them. That's why I didn't label this dog layer, because if it's not labeled, and if you're going to join the two layers together, the layer on the bottom, that's the name that gets retained. So listen, I'm going to pinch the two of them together, and now we have more new sketches. Look at, now they're one layer. So I can zoom them in together. They're now together forever, unless I want to undo it. So anyways, so I'm going to move that up there, and maybe I'll do one more version, one more cartoony version. I'm going to do, like, I consider this as sort of, again, the traditional sort of like proportions of cartoons now. This one is kind of like a midpoint in between this and where I eventually might want to go. New layer, we'll call that, I don't know, even more new sketches. Okay, so this is, again, it's on its own layer, so it's not going to affect anything on these two layers. Okay, or should I say, yeah, this is the third layer of the three. Make sure I've got my tech pen going. As a matter of fact, I'll even lower the opacity. I'll start with the lower opacity. Yeah, we'll go 50% or a little under that for now. And I want to do a super exaggerated, very contained, squat version of this character. So I'm gonna go really wide, and like literally, that's all. It's gonna be almost like a pond, like a little exaggerated pond shape. Enormous head, little body, kind of like the style that I'm, not known for. I keep saying known for, and I hate being pretentious, but recognized for, I guess, for doing this. I've been doing it for so long, for so many years. I've done many comic book conventions where people have requested me to do these sort of super exaggerated characters. I think I'm gonna go tiny with the eyes on this one. So I'm gonna go. So there's our dividing line. This one is to represent where the nose and mouth is going to go. It's kind of like the cross, the sort of the vertical line. The horizontal line is essentially the eye line. If you're wondering why everyone always draws this X through the middle of, or this little cross through the middle of all their facial drawings, particularly when they're drawing from the front view. That is why it's just one represents the eye and one represents where the nose and mouth is going to be aligned. All right. Again, the ears will play off of that, where the eye line goes. I like it just below the eyes, personally. So we're gonna do little tiny eyes. So if we're gonna do little tiny eyes, we're gonna do a little tiny nose, and we'll do a good sized mouth. That's just, again, we're just freestyling here. Our hair. Probably closer to the head on that side. I'll figure that out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do with these little eyes. Not much. Circle. Little nose. And again, the little darkness underneath that open shape in the mouth creates now an open mouth with teeth. If you can see, and I'll do a little laugh lines on the outside. Okay, so this is, believe it or not, almost there. The body is a little bit chunky, but it's not because she's chunky in any way. So, Erin, please, get at me, but don't get at me too hard. It's just a stylistic thing. And then little feet. Your hair probably, obviously doesn't go down to the floor in the real world. Eyebrows. And so again, these are just style choices. And these lines, these little extra lines, just for flavor. When I get in and refine them, which again will be a separate video, you'll be able to see which of these lines I retain and which of these lines will just be there as guides. But anyways, so that is another version. straight line over here. Just take the eraser and get rid of that. Alright, so there's another version. I can make her narrower or wider if I choose, but just for different sake, I'm gonna put her here. Okay, I'm gonna create a new layer for the dog. The dog's gonna get his own version. Okay, so this one I'm gonna draw in proportion and not reduce it down. I'm just gonna draw it because I noticed that this guy got a lot thinner when I reduced him down. So I'm gonna draw him in proportion right now to her. So they're gonna go together a little bit better. Let me reduce the opacity. Okay. So his ears, his little jowls, little nose, that little crease. This little darker shape on there is gonna represent his collar. There's your construction lines. His little eyes are going to be over here. Okay. Muzzle. And I guess this is the lighter area. That's meant to represent that lighter area of the dog. Okay, so that's that. And then this little paw. Let me zoom in. Little paw. Hind legs are back here, and the tail. And it's just the white of his, if he has white on his chest. That's what that's supposed to represent. And that's all there is to those two. Let me join them together again because it's above this layer. You just pinch them together, and now he's part of even more new sketches layer. And then I can increase the opacity. Well, actually, it's that because I joined them. Now they're at that lowered opacity. It's really not that big a deal. If it bugged me that this is that much lighter than that, I just go over here to I can go to curves, and I can play around with the curves and lighten it, darken it, do whatever I want. Go this direction, go that direction. It doesn't matter. I can do it there. I can go to use saturation, darken the line. Just not going that much darker. Or another way to do it is you can duplicate the line. And I don't know if you noticed, like it got much darker. So all I did is just take that line. It's an exact copy, exact duplicate of it. And because you're on top of it, and because it's whenever you render something in Procreate, it's essentially transparent. It's black line on transparent. The black line literally just doubled. So it's one on top of the other. And so it doubled the intensity of the line. If I do it again, it'll get even darker. If you notice how much darker it got. Here's how I will demonstrate that. I will see lighter. That's the original. That's the duplicate. That's a duplicate of the duplicate. And it just... So this is a good way to make your line darker or more intense. All right, so I think 2 of them is good enough. And if it's too dark, it can always play around with the... and go back in and play around with that opacity again. So I'll take just a little bit of it off. By a little bit, like 6%, it's at 94 right now. Okay? So that's 3 versions of a character design. Just kind of move that over there. I'll move even more down here. And I don't know why I love to kind of move stuff around to see. Yeah, I feel like she needs to be big, like that. I don't know, I have this weird thing where I like to kind of compose them on a page. I think we've talked about this problem I have in a previous video. I'm pretty sure we have. I'd love to have them somewhat balanced on the page. I know it's not necessary. I know it's just doing this for fun and just trying to feel out a couple of character styles. But for some reason, I'd like to have them look somewhat composed on a page. Again, it's a fault I have, I guess. All right, I'm not happy until they're all composed somewhat on a page. So, click off of that. So 3 styles of character design for both characters. I think in the next video I'm gonna actually do an actual composition of her with the dog. I'll select either one of these 3, or I'll do a 4th or 5th version of a cartoony style, and then we'll do a little composition and we'll keep it rolling. All right, guys. Hope you enjoy. Please feel free to leave comments below here in YouTube, or go over to DM me on Instagram, or go to my fairly new Facebook. You can like my Facebook page. It's SketchyGOichie at Facebook, and leave some comments there, or post videos of your work, or post your art on there, and I'd love to sort of have an interaction with you there as well. But for now, here is Erin and the dog, and that's that. All right, I'm out.
All right, SketchyGOichie. Live your moment. Happy sketching, y'all. Peace.